Hey everyone, my name is Riley, and in this video I'm going to break down the differences between an LLC, an S-Corp and a C-Corp to help you decide which of these is the best business structure for you. Now, each of these structures has its own benefits and drawbacks affecting things like taxes, liability and potential business growth, and you can see a breakdown of the key differences on the side of your screen. I will go through each of these business structures step by step, explaining how they work, the pros and cons, and which type of businesses they are all suited for. I will also introduce you to my recommended business formation service that can handle everything for you, including filing your paperwork, setting up your company correctly, and providing ongoing compliance support. As a disclaimer, I am an affiliate of the service that I will be recommending, which means I may earn a small commission if you use my link at no extra cost to you. I have done a lot of research to find the best company formation agent, and I believe the one that I recommend is, which is why I'm recommending it in the first place. With all of that being said, let's now jump in and start to discuss first of all, what is an LLC? An LLC is one of the most popular business structures, especially for small businesses and entrepreneurs. It gives you personal liability protection while still keeping things relatively simple when it comes to taxes and paperwork. Unlike a sole proprietorship where your business and personal assets are legally the same, an LLC creates a legal separation between you and your business. So what this means is if your business gets sued or if your business has debts, your personal savings, your house, your car, everything you own is protected. Some of the biggest benefits that you get with an LLC is of course liability protection, which is where your personal and business assets are separate. You also have a lot of tax flexibility with an LLC. So LLCs can choose to be taxed as a sole proprietorship, they can choose to be taxed as a partnership, an S-Corp, or even a C-Corp. Less paperwork is another big benefit because compared to corporations, LLCs have far fewer ongoing compliance requirements. In terms of taxes, by default, an LLC is taxed as a pass-through entity, which means business profits are reported on your personal tax returns. With that being said, you can elect to be taxed as either an S-Corp or a C-Corp, and of course, we will talk about these later in the video. Now, moving on to an S-Corp is not actually a business structure. It's a tax election that both LLCs and corporations can choose. So an S-Corp is overall, this is best for businesses that want to save on self-employment taxes. The reason this is possible is because instead of paying the 15.3% self-employment tax like an LLC would, if you elect to be taxed as an S-Corp, you can instead split your income between salary and dividends, and of course this is going to reduce your taxes. What I would say about this though is even though there are potential tax benefits there, choosing to be taxed as an S-Corp is really only ideal for business owners that are making over $50,000 in net profit. The reason for this is because under that level, the tax savings that you are going to get, it doesn't really outweigh the extra admin work that you will have to do in order to be taxed as an S-Corp. I will also add here that there are some restrictions of who can become an S-Corp. So a big one is only US citizens or residents can own an S-Corp. Also, there is a maximum amount of shareholders that you can have, and this is 100. And also, this is a big one as well. You must pay yourself a reasonable salary before taking profits as distributions. In terms of what a reasonable salary is, the IRS expects you to pay a fair wage for the work that you do. So this is essentially what you would pay somebody else for the same job. As an example, if you're a freelance web designer and other web designers in your area earn $60,000 per year, you can't just pay yourself $10,000 and then take the rest as profit and distributions to avoid taxes. If you try to do this and the IRS audit you and find your salary is unreasonably low, you could face back taxes and penalties, so it's really not worth trying to get away with this. In terms of taxes, once again, with an S-Corp, you don't pay any corporate tax, but the owners must pay themselves a salary and pay payroll taxes on that amount. Any remaining profits are distributed as dividends, which are of course not subject to self-employment tax. To finish this section off, overall, who should choose an S-Corp? I would say if your business makes over $50,000 per year and you want to save on self-employment taxes, an S-Corp might be the right choice here. Then for the third option, we have a C-Corp, and a C-Corp is a completely separate legal entity from its owners. This type of business structure is typically used by large companies, startups that are seeking investors, and also businesses that are planning to go public. The reason for this is because with a C-Corp, this has by far the strongest legal protection, so the owners of a C-Corp are completely separate from the business. With a C-Corp, this really also has unlimited growth potential, so C-Corps can issue shares and they can also attract investors. So because a C-Corp is going to be charged at a corporate tax rate, this can generally be a lot lower than personal taxes for high earners. Of course, there are still some downsides with a C-Corp. So the first is going to be double taxation. So profits are going to be taxed at the corporate level, and then they will also be taxed again when they are distributed as dividends. There is also a lot more paperwork that goes into a C-Corp. They have stricter regulations. They are also going to have annual reports, board meetings, and corporate bylaws. So there is just much more paperwork. There is much more compliance that goes into running a C-Corp. In terms of who should choose to run a C-Corp, I would say this is going to be businesses that are much later down the line. So if you plan to raise investment capital, if you plan to go public, if you plan to reinvest profits back into the business, a C-Corp is going to be the best choice for you. So overall, when we are looking at these three business structures, which one should you go for? I would recommend to choose an LLC if you want simplicity, liability protection, and tax flexibility. I would recommend going with an S-Corp if you make more than $50,000 per year and you want to save on self-employment taxes. And I would recommend choosing a C-Corp if you plan to raise investment capital or scale a large business. Once you have decided on which business structure you want to go for, if you want to form your business, I highly recommend using Bizee. The reason for this is that they handle the entire LLC, S-Corp, or C-Corp formation process, whichever one you want to go with. And they also provide a free registered agent service for the first year. So to use Bizee to form your company, you can click on the top link down in the description, and it's going to take you over to this page right here. So all we need to do is click on Form Your LLC right here. We can click into this. And then in this area where it says Entity Type, we can go down and you can see we can choose between an LLC, an S-Corp, or a C-Corp. So we just select the business structure that you would like to form. In this example, I will go with an S-Corp. We can select that right there. And then for the state, we can go in and choose the state we would like to form this business structure in. So in this example, I'm just going to go down and I'm going to select Michigan right here. And we can see we have the three Bizee plans as well as the pricing and the mandatory state fee that you will have to pay regardless, even if we don't go through Bizee. So with the state fee, this is going to change depending on the state you are in, as different states charge different amounts for this. But from these Bizee plans, the one that I recommend is this standard plan right here. The reason for this is because this standard plan gives you access to everything that you need through Bizee. So in here, they will file and prepare the articles of organization. We get a free 1-year registered agent service. They will file our EIN business tax number for us. So an EIN is essentially the social security number for your business. This is required to file taxes. This is required to hire employees. This is required to open bank accounts. So super important that we get this sorted. The biggest thing I would actually say on here though is this unlimited phone and email support, because with this, if you have any questions about compliance or legalities later down the line, you can just call Bizee up, you can ask them your question and they will answer it on the phone. So that's why I recommend standard. We can select that right there and then click on Get Started. And then in here, we can go through and we can start creating the company. So in here, we just type in the name of the company. I'm going to go with Holden North. And then on the end, we can choose the designator. So if this is a standard LLC, you will see LLC options. I'm going for an S-Corp, so I see different options here. And we can choose the designator for this. So I'm going to go for Inc. right here. And then we can click on next. We can then choose the state filing time. So we can choose to pay an extra $50 and get the filing time done for us. So if we select this, we can get the LLC created and formed in 4 days. Otherwise, we will have to wait 3 weeks. So it's up to you in how much of a rush you are to get your company formed, but we can choose if we want to do this. And then in here, you just want to go ahead and enter in your contact details as the person forming this company. Once that is filled out, we can go over to the next page. And in here, it's now going to ask if we want to use our own address to form this company or if we want to use a virtual address. The difference between these is if we go for our own address, As it says right here, any residential address provided to the state will be listed publicly. So if you want extra privacy and you don't want your address to be shown publicly, you can go for this virtual mail service right here. And the way that this works is publicly, this address that is owned by Bizee is going to be listed, and any mail that gets sent to your company will be scanned into the computer by Bizee, and they will email you it across. So this is fantastic value for just $29 per month, and it allows you to hide your address publicly. So we can select this, and then we can go down and fill in our contact address. Of course, even though this is filled in, as long as we went with this private address right here, this won't be shown publicly. This is just for Bizee's end to know where you are. Once we have that entered, we can go ahead and click on next. And then Bizee will try to give us an upsell right here. So if you want access to this, we get this 25 contract library as well as a business phone number. This is absolutely not necessary. This is completely optional. So for this, I'm going to say no thanks. From here, we can now add the members of our LLC or the directors of our business. So in here, we can go ahead and choose how many people are going to be involved in this. And then in here, we can go down and enter in all their information. Once that is entered, we can click on next and go through to the next page. If you're forming an LLC, you shouldn't see this. This is just for an S-Corp, but we can essentially choose how many shares we want to authorize, how much we want to value each share at, and the number of shareholders that we are going to have. So I'm just going to say that I'm the only shareholder in here. And once that is entered, we can go through to the next page. So this is where we are going to be offered the free registered agent for the first year with Bizee. I highly recommend taking this, because a registered agent is the person who is legally designated to deal with all the legal letters and regulations for your business. So in here, we can allow Bizee to stand as the registered agent and click on next. This is now where we are going to get our EIN or employer identification number. And as I said earlier, this is like the SSN for your business. So to do this, we just enter in our details, and then we can choose the identification number, which will be used to obtain the EIN. With this, we can either go with a social security number or an ITIN. With an ITIN, as you can see right here, this takes up to 12 weeks to obtain. So it's up to you which one you want to go with, but I will go with an SSN because I want to get this sorted as soon as possible. So we can enter that in and then just fill in the street address and go next. In here, Bizee will then ask if we want to use one of their partners for our business banking. Once again, this is really not required. It just does make things a little bit easier as everything is in one place. But for this, I'm just going to say ask me later. We can then book in a free tax strategy and consultation call. So as this is free, there's no strings attached or anything like this. I would highly recommend taking this as well. There's just no reason not to. And then on this next screen, you can see we have an order summary. So just go through here and make sure all of the details are entered incorrectly. And once they are, we can just scroll down and click on next right here. The final step on this is just entering in the card information that we would like to use. So we can go down and we can fill this in right here. And once this is filled in, we just want to agree, complete and pay. And that is how you can form your business with Bizee. So those are the differences between an LLC, an S-Corp and a C-Corp, as well as how you can form your business with Bizee. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to smash that like button and tap that subscribe button. And until next time, take it easy.